Hello everybody, it's Glass Half Dead here, and today I am going to be talking about the worst faction for LVO. So, I could have just said Kill Team, but because of how different every format is, I am being very specific about LVO and therefore the hold kill meta. For those of you unaware, that means instead of the primaries being the standard from Arena, which is hold one objective to score one VP, hold a second objective to score another VP, and hold more objectives than your opponent to score yet another VP. Instead, it is hold one objective, hold more objectives, kill one, kill more. So hugely different, and it completely changes. Some of you may have seen the tier list that I did a few weeks ago. If I were to now be making that tier list for LVO, it would be completely different. However, I am joined by one of my chapter master level patrons, Zerostride. Did you want to say hi?
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Let's just jump into it, shall we? Zerostride, if you had to pick a weakest faction, who would you pick?
So my pick for weakest faction in the LVO format, I think, has to be the Starstriders. They are a toughness 3 faction. They do have that 5-up invulnerable save bubble, but that model in the hold kill format is one of the models that you might actually need to use to kill something. The Starstriders, unless you use tactics, don't really have multi-damage weapons, or they're conditionally multi-damage like their grenades, and I think it's very difficult for them to really put forward the muscle and have the survivability.
Mm, Yeah, so you mentioned their T3 armies. I
Mhm.
kind of agree with you. When I'm looking at an army that I might want to run, T3 is a big negative because there are other armies that can be T4 and still count as a bit of a horde, so you've got numbers on your
Mhm.
side. For example, Zangor spam or the obvious drones.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, as soon as I then look at a comparable army that is T3, I really have to place it next to a drone and say, eh. Oh, sorry, the other rack, a rack,
Yeah.
T4 with a 4-up invuln, right? And a feel
Yeah.
no pain. Um,
Yep.
if I'm looking at a T3 model, I have to ask myself, why am I not running one of those three armies?
Mhm.
So I totally get it from that perspective. However, we don't have that much data on the Elicidian Starstriders, but they do have the ability to be quite killy, don't they?
I don't honestly know, from experience. I haven't played as them or against them. I've seen them. That's not true. I played against them, but it wasn't on a competitive player.
Mm,
I don't know. It seems like they lack, well, plasma for one. They've got
sure.
some close combat.
Yeah.
That's powerful, especially that assassin. But to make her really powerful, you have to use a 2 CP tactic. If I'm thinking of the right thing, there's a 2 CP tactic that makes a multi-damage, blender.
Yeah.
That's 2 CP.
Yes. I believe the only other thing they have going for them is the leader's shotgun is a 2 damage weapon,
Yes, it
which is
is.
pretty nice. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, and I think there's a tactic for the shotgun as well.
That does ring a bell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, no, so I totally get why you would pick them. They're a very limited army. They're T3, makes sense. However,
Hmm.
if you had them versus, let's say, Kroot, you'd you're saying Kroot are better?
Well, so my reasoning on the Star Striders is not just that they're T3 and they lack strong killing, it's that they also don't really have a big horde game. So, like, let's compare them versus Guard.
Mm.
Guard are basically Voidsman and Guardsmen are kind of the same thing. But Guard can stack the special weapons, so they're slightly more killy. Guard can stack more bodies, and guard can have a resilient. You can take Pious Vorn, and Pious Vorn is a beast. For 15 points, I think she is, or maybe 16,
Yeah.
but I think it's 15 points. Like Pious Vorn is a beast, and you really can't ignore her. Her Flamer's great. She's good in melee. She's got the 5-up, feel no pain. Even if somebody kills her, you have to deal with Pious Vorn almost always, and if you're killing Pious, you're not killing everybody else, and so you can have the guardsmen out there being expendable. You can have the plasma threat, trying to keep people's heads down, and so they're a mixed threat that lets them play positionally, and even though they may not kill more, or even though they may get killed quite a bit, so they might not get kill more, they're still going to kill one. They're still going to be strong positionally. And if you want to try and kill guard, you've got to poke your head out, and that means somebody might shoot it off with a plasma.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
Oh, so for Kroot,
I did
think
say Kroot, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I was getting there. So I think Kroot are weak, but Kroot still have the ability to body spam and do positional things. Now, I think Tyranids do that better, but
Oh yeah.
I think Kroot are better. They could
Okay.
or could possibly be better. It's a
Fair
tough
enough.
call. It's a tough call.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. No, I'm not here to criticize the choice. I just, we have seen Elucidian Star Striders. I don't. Did they come first at a tournament? No, it was in
Was
a
it a
Nova pod.
Adepticon? I think it was a pod.
I think
It
it was a
was
pod
either
at
maybe
Nova.
it was Nova.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Whereas I don't
So yeah,
think we've seen that from Kroot.
that's true. Yeah, it's possible.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, fair enough. Elucidian Star Striders. Let's move over to my pick. Now, I have already told you, so you know what's coming. But for the viewers,
I do.
Do I need to preface this? Nah, it's fine. Okay, so I think that the worst faction is Harlequins. Now, why do I think Harlequins are the worst faction over, for example, Kroot? Right? I mean, that seems like a valid question, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And let's be clear, I'm not saying that Kroot can beat Harlequins. What I am saying is that in the hold kill format, everyone is going to be incentivized to take models that can kill, right? Who kills well? Who kills the best, in fact? Psychic.
Yep.
Right? That is the best way to kill anything. So, I suspect at LVO specifically, we are going to be seeing a lot of Grey Knights and a lot of Thousand Suns. And probably a few Demon players, with because they have Psychic. I don't know about that, but definitely Grey Knight and Thousand Suns. And do you know who Harlequins can't beat?
Well,
Grey
lots
Knights
of
Thousand
people, but
Suns.
definitely Psychics. Yeah,
Yeah.
and Thousand Suns and Grey Knights are hard.
Yeah, you're just done. Like, I mean, I would argue probably Thousand Suns are tougher than Grey Knights for you.
I agree with that
Because of the
because
Zangors.
Zangors, yeah.
Yeah. They can, presumably, they can quite effectively shield their sorcerer with Zangors, so you can't actually get a charge off there, which means you have to charge.
The Harlequins can always get the charge off, but the problem with Zangors is they don't have Overwatch.
Yeah.
So, there are tricks that you can do to screen a charge, to make sure that they'd have to take the Overwatch. But you can probably get the charge off on the sorcerer. The problem just then becomes like, well, you now need to charge in 2 clowns because 1 clown might just die to the Cybolt.
Oh, I would assume you'd have to take 2 clowns on anything you want to kill, but yeah, sure. Yeah, so basically the top tables are going to be filled with models that are very killy, which is obviously quite a big difference to the original format. And Harlequins, I don't think, can stand up in that meta, to be honest.
I agree.
Which is a real shame. which is a real shame.
I also agree. I really wanted to take Harlequins to LVO,
Yeah,
and after a lot of thought and work on it, I decided that I was not going to, which makes me sad.
interesting.
But
Okay.
yes, and I told you,
Who?
but for the
Yeah.
listeners, I am currently the number one ranked ITC Harlequin player for Kill Team. So
Well,
I really love the clowns. I really do. But I can't take them.
who are you taking, if you are at liberty to say?
I may as well. I will be taking Astartes,
Oh, cool.
and it will be very likely that it will be a two sub faction roster, but
Oh,
I'm not 100% on that yet.
okay, interesting. Can I guess? My guess
Hmm.
is White Scars and Blood Angels.
No,
Oh, okay. Done.
it's not that. So, I mean, these are those are both interesting choices.
Mm,
And I tend to think of sub factions as like they're doing a specific job, and when I look at the terrain for the LVO layout that got posted from the practice games and whatnot.
yeah,
Uh, what I see is some very open lanes, and depending on the mission and the layout, you could be forced to stand in the open in
yeah.
order to, or effectively stand in the open in order to hold a objective, which is another reason I didn't choose Harlequin. So one of the sub
Mm.
factions I'm thinking about is Raven Guard.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I typically, yeah, no, fair enough, fair enough. So obviously, LVO is quite unique in the fact that, you know what? I'm getting way off track here. I didn't want to have a generic talk
We
about
are. Yeah,
LVO.
you're right. Yeah.
Right, worst faction, Harlequins, because they
Okay.
obviously Harlequins are very, very unique. So I totally get why it's hard to balance them as a faction, you know. However, everything that they are weak against, we have just made the best
Hmm.
in this format, and
Yeah.
therefore, you know what? Obviously I'm saying this as if it's a huge negative, and but in every system there is going to be a winner and a loser, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's in with any change to anything in a rules system. You improve something, you make something else worse. That's just how things go. Fair enough. You can't, I'm not really bashing that in itself. This is more just a fun take on what is now the worst. And I do think it is Harlequins. And the reason I wanted to kind of make this little video is because since Elite's released, everybody have been saying that Harlequins are terrible, right? And I was saying that, and I was saying I mean, okay, they didn't get as much. They weren't winners of the Elites book, right? But they're not the worst. They're not terrible. They're not bottom tier. However, in the LVO hold kill format, I do think they are bottom tier. By which I mean there are new gatekeeper lists, and Harlequins cannot take on those gatekeepers. There you go.
Yeah. I would say in the format, I don't know what. Maybe Crute.
Mm,
Like I don't know what table I would sit down on at and say, my opponent is this faction. Nice.
sure,
This is
sure.
gonna be an easy. There's no faction like that. Maybe
Yeah,
Crute, but even they can start swarming with you with bodies, and at toughness 3
yeah.
with just an invuln. Eventually, one's gonna get through.
Oh, of course. Yeah, yeah. I suppose the only saving grace for Harlequins in this new format is that if you take them, nobody will be expecting that.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Uh, they might be boggled for a moment. Unfortunately, I think that's about it. Because again,
Hmm.
another issue is how do you get through the Harlequins potentially seemingly quite powerful 4-up invuln save? Well, multiple hits.
Hmm.
So you just need your regular roster that can get through hordes.
Yeah.
Except there's only 8 of them. in this horde. So you just kill them easily.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and especially just looking at I know AdMech's going to be there. AdMech's
Hmm.
really strong. It's an open table format, which means deep striking is an issue. If you get a unit of 2 or 3 mandrakes or 2 or 3 rust stalkers from
Infiltrators,
the
yeah.
ones that have like pistol, yeah, infiltrators. They have like pistol 6 or some just crazy
Yeah, yeah,
crazy thing.
it's nuts. Yeah,
And it has no AP, but it doesn't matter. They're
doesn't matter. Yeah,
dropping in, and they're gonna hit you with 3 or 4 shots each, and the mandrakes might be doing a mortal wound to you.
mandrakes are great. Yeah,
It is completely
scion
brutal.
flamers. Who knows?
Hmm.
Flayed
Yep.
ones. You don't want to fight them either. They're gonna charge you
No.
next round.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't fight flayed ones at all.
No.
Yeah.
Mm. So yeah, tough times for Harlequins. Now I've got to admit, I was very strongly considering taking Harlequins to LVO.
Hmm.
And I kind of want to, like, part of me wants to do it, but I know that if I do, I'm going to be relying on hot dice.
Yeah, I
Like,
was just
that's
about to
the only
say,
way I could win.
yeah, you're gonna live or die by those dice.
Yeah.
And one of the times, unless you get real lucky, in which case maybe you should have been playing craps instead
Well,
of
yeah, I should have been
you should
in the
have been
casino over the
gambling.
road. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, one of those times it's gonna go badly, and then you're done for.
Although, interestingly, to give Harlequins their due here, that is the exact same reason that I chose not to take, or I am choosing not to take Grey Knights. Grey Knights,
Okay.
very strong, and you do have some games where they are just going to wreck through anything you throw at them. Like, they are unstoppable. But then you have a game where your dice turn cold, and you get tabled turn 2. Right? I mean, that's the nature of the elite army.
Yep.
And I didn't want to do that. So, yeah. But part of me, like, I would love to take Harlequins and actually place with them. That would just be insane. Nobody would expect it. Neither would I. But I can't do that. I can't fly to another country to come bottom table. I don't know. Although,
Yeah, or even if you do, you wanted to know that you brought something that you thought you could do really well with, not something you had a lot of doubts about.
well, it depends on personal goals, doesn't it? I mean, if I, you know what, we're getting way off topic here. Way off
Yeah,
topic.
that's
Anyway,
yeah, sorry.
you know what? Do you want a surprise? Do you have a surprise second pick? Maybe. Have you given that some
Surprise
thought?
second pick.
Maybe a spicy one. If you can think of
spicy
another one like Harlequins.
If I can think of another one like Harlequins, jeez.
I could do one.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
Okay. I think Custodes. Okay, so everybody, so for the listeners, for the watchers, everybody, looking at this format in my Discord, everywhere else, is saying me as well, obviously, is saying Custodes are super strong in this format. And that is 100% true. However, they just have to fail an armor save, right? And then they've lost a third of their team. And you can force that on them. For example, with plasma spam. They're going to fail. Right? I mean, let's assume that they know you're going to take plasma spam, so they take shields. It's still just a 3-up armor save. And they've only got 3 models.
Yep.
However, the reason I still hate Custodes is because of the negative play experience of just how boring they are to play against. So I really don't want them to win. But luckily, I don't think they will. I think they do, however, block out a lot of other lists. So they kind of act as that gatekeeper. But it's more like a gatekeeper to fun. So yeah, there you go.
Gatekeeper to fun.
Yeah,
I
that's
like that.
Custodes. That's
Okay,
the
yeah.
next merch shirt. It'll be a Custode, and then the Gatekeeper to fun. I like it. Okay. Did you have another one?
Uh, Geez, I was actually kind of thinking Custodes, but for totally different
Oh,
reasons.
okay.
Yeah.
Why? Why so?
So I think that they can be strong in the format, but I think that everybody who is going everybody who's going to LVO is preparing to has a plan for Custodes. That's what I think. I think
Sure.
everybody has a plan. Everybody knows they're a threat,
Yeah.
but I think that they're only a strong threat if you're completely unprepared for how to deal with them.
Yeah.
Um, I think that uh, I think that they're more one dimension. They are very one dimensional, which people do say about Harlequins. I disagree slightly. Sure, you know that, but off topic.
Poor
Custodes, first of
Harlequins.
all,
Yeah.
yeah, Custodes cannot advance and shoot. Their weapons are either
Rapid
rapid
fire. Yeah.
fire or their
Pistol.
pistol. They've got a 6-inch movement, and there's 3 guys. So this means obviously that they're very positionally weak. If they do the if they try and do the positional thing and advance to gain ground, you know they can't shoot, and you can then basically force them to make the choice. Do you want to stick your head out? Do you want to make the advance? If you do, you can't shoot, and I know that. With deep striking, if you put a unit in reserve with okay, we'll say Harlequins, but I'm sure there's Eldar with fusion would be another option, but you're putting 2 fusion gunners in reserve.
Mm.
What you're really saying to the Custodes player is, excuse me, if you advance, I'm going to deep strike and possibly kill one of your guys.
Yeah.
If you don't advance, you're potentially not you're not going to take as much board presence. You're not going to have as much board presence, and the purpose isn't to necessarily kill the custode with the deep strike. The purpose is to force them into a lose-lose decision, and so whatever decision they choose, you will punish. Eldar or Harlequins are very, very fast. They can be very positionally strong. Harlequins will have 8 players, potentially 9 players, depending on how you do your roster at 125. You have the opportunity to gain a lot of board presence if they don't advance. And you know what? Like Eldar, since you can field more bodies, you can just keep those guys in reserves on turn 2 as well and say, like, yeah, if you advance, I'm going to pop out and kill you.
Yeah. Totally.
Uh, and so that's why that's kind of what I mean by one-dimensional custodes. They need to, they can't be positionally dominant. But they still have to participate in the positional game, which means that they need to kill and they need to kill more. And if they kill one, they're probably going to kill more because you're probably not going to kill one of them.
Mm.
So it's very they're very one-dimensional. Whereas Harlequin's like, oh, they want to charge you. Well, they don't need to charge you to win the game necessarily. They can play positionally strong and just try and kill one, or they can challenge you for positional objectives, that sort of thing. But
Mm.
Custodes have to kill. They absolutely have to kill. And so, with everybody being prepared for them, I think that they have this bizarre place of being both a gatekeeper list and potentially one of the weakest factions.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Cool. So, for the listeners, you actually picked Eliciting Star Striders because I said I was picking Harlequins and you said you'd pick
Yes.
another one.
Yeah.
So, to be clear, without either of us communicating, as our bottom 2 factions, we both picked Harlequins and Custodes. Like there was, yeah. So that in itself is quite interesting, I think. Yeah, cool. All right. Well, thank you very much for joining me for this little chat, Zerostride.
I appreciate it. Hope I added
Definitely. And I will be seeing you at LVO. I
Sweet.
assume, right?
Right. Yes.
Okay.
Unless something catastrophic happens, which hopefully, looking forward to it.
Yes, well, planes have been known to crash. I might not make it. Anyway, moving on. Wouldn't that be a dream come true? Thank you very much, Zerostride. Do you want to say goodbye to everyone?
Goodbye. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for watching, everybody. I'd really like to know what your thoughts are on what is the weakest faction for the kill hold format, specifically LVO. But if you don't know the LVO pack too well, just focus on the primaries. Maybe we got it wrong. Let us know. Especially your hot takes. It's the spicy ones that nobody really expects that I enjoy reading most. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I hope you've had a good day. I hope you continue to have a good day. Goodbye.